Well, good morning, everybody. And for those of you already contemplating that second cup of coffee because it is so early, let me make you feel at least a little bit better for yourself and maybe a little badly for me by letting you know that I've already been up for about 4 hours by this point in my day, considering the new hours that I'm doing. However, it is really my pleasure to be associated with all of you and have been invited to this social media breakfast, Waterloo Region, and I would like to say a quick hello to my fellow panelists this morning. I am so jealous that you get to be here in person and I have to be here virtually, but such is the world I work in today, and fortunately we have this technology to make this happen. But Ashley, good to be on a panel with you. We actually met over Twitter. We covered LRT together, as I recall, and we've still got some signs to make for the election. I don't know we're going to get them done this time, but we might have to make them for the next election to encourage people to get out and vote. Natalie, great to see you as part of this. I really miss you on Rogers TV, but I watch all the time on the Weather Network. It's like my crack. I love the Weather Network. 24 hours a day, I just keep watching to see if that hourly forecast is going to change. So good to have you here as well. Kevin, I hope that one day you can give me a tour of Cambridge, because obviously you know it so well and are passionate about it, and the tweets I've seen from you have shown some great little pictures and things happening in Cambridge that I would not have known about otherwise. So if we can ever arrange that in-person tour, can't wait. And Nadia, love your work on CTV Southwestern Ontario, and we are way overdue for some sushi. So any of you others, by the way, want to join Nads and I when we go out for sushi, feel free. But we are overdue, I know, and it's all on me. So, again, thank you so much for having me be a part of this here today. And because this is a one-way conversation, which is exactly what social media should not be, I'll try to be as brief as possible, but also give you the overview of what I've been asked to provide today, which really is how my role has changed as a journalist because of social media. And when I thought about this, I actually thought back to the emergence of the internet, and when it really began to take hold. Yes, I know I'm dating myself, but we here in traditional media were actually quite concerned about this whole World Wide Web and its online music stations and how that was going to affect what we do for a living. But rather than have a negative impact on us in traditional media, it's actually provided tremendous opportunity. The whole concept of listening live now is something that those who were forward-thinking embraced much earlier, and the rest of us have kind of caught up. But it's just another way for us now to reach your ears in the case of what I do in radio. And now I find social media, again, particularly Twitter, as something that's really just a complement to what we do on the air at our radio station. And as a reporter or a journalist individually within a broader organization, for me, Twitter in particular has really begun to serve two purposes. Number one is I can monitor it to find out the sorts of things that you're all talking about and the sorts of things that are interesting to you. And maybe you're asking questions in the Twitterverse that I can respond to, or I can dig into and find a story and share that story with you. And the other way I look at it is kind of like an extension of one of our talk shows. We do a lot of phone call-in shows at 570 News, and what I think Twitter can do is that same thing in the social media environment. So we can actually have a conversation, and that to me has become the most valuable part of being on Twitter. It's the exchange of ideas, it's the exchange really of just dialogue. We're having a conversation in the Twitterverse, much like we would have in person. So instead of just phoning me or even emailing me, we can have a conversation that anybody else then can see and participate in. And I really would encourage any other journalist that, and I know those that are on this panel are already doing it, and anybody who maybe is still reluctant to get involved and be on Twitter and actually be engaged and active on Twitter. And then for the consumer, it has offered a whole new way for you to get in touch with us as traditional media. And I don't think all of traditional media has embraced it the way it should yet, but we're getting there. We're slow. We've been around doing this for decades now, and like I said, even the internet was a whole new world for us and one that concerned us in the beginning. So we might be a little slower to embrace social media than some other mediums, but I think that we're getting there, and it's a way for you to just have instant contact with us. And again, those of us in traditional media that are doing the social media thing well will be able to respond to you and have those types of conversations. But it's been a fascinating exercise for me that truly started by accident. There was a a push by somebody I worked with to get online and get involved in Twitter, and it wasn't really explained to me too well how this all worked. So I was a very late adopter, and it's less than 2 years, maybe about 18 months since I got involved in this whole new world, and I can't imagine now being without it, because it has just been a tremendous resource for me, and it's a great way for me to have conversations with you that I wasn't having before. So I think that's the best I can tell you in a short summary, and again, not to bore you just sitting here staring at this video. I wish I could be there in the room with you and, well, have some of the food and coffee too. But having said that, I think that the key really is
take
conversation.
Questions by Twitter?
I will absolutely take questions by Twitter, as James is mentioning off camera here, and I hope you can hear. I am at Farwell 570 News. And if you want to fire off anytime, if you're not following me yet, please do so. And at any point in time, I've made it a rule of my own to always be responsive, because that, again, is what this is all about. It's supposed to be a dialogue, I think, anyway. And that's how I've always used it, and that's how I've always treated it, and I expect to continue doing that. So it allows me to get to know you in some way, shape, or form, to find out what makes you tick. And then if you actually have something that you're curious about in my world, enough to tweet at me on something or ask a question, I'm always going to respond to it, because, like I said, I look at it as a talk show that we've just taken into another environment. So from my perspective, that's where I view Twitter. That's where I view my place in Twitter. I'm there to monitor the conversations that you're having and to participate in some of them, and also to respond to anything that you're coming to us about. And I think traditional media, and you're probably going to hear this around this panel today, is embracing that. And my fellow journalists on this panel are doing the same sorts of things. It allows them just another way of communicating with you, the consumer of the information we provide. It is a fantastic tool. I am a devotee of Twitter, and I tell anybody who's not on to get on and be involved in this emerging, I think it is still emerging. We're just scratching the surface of what Twitter can do. An incredibly powerful tool, and I've really enjoyed being a part of it, and I have no intentions of going away. For now, though, I will say goodbye. Talk to you in the Twitterverse, and thanks again for having me.